evening, America. My name is Stefan.
And I am Joe Isha, and this is your nightly news. On international news tonight, U.S. mobilization and war efforts were quick. The minimum drafting age was lowered from 21 years of age to 18. Japan continues their campaign as they capture the islands of Guam and Wake, as well as the cities of Singapore and Hong Kong. Hitler's African campaign draws the American and Allied forces. Hitler broke his peace agreement with Stalin, causing the Soviet Union to join the Allied forces.
Moving on to the Battle of Midway, on June 4th, Pacific Fleet Commander Admiral Chester W. Nimitz prepares his fleet for engagement with Japan's naval forces. Nimitz had multiple cruisers, battleships, and aircraft carriers within his fleet. Admiral Yamamoto, Japanese commander, had no idea of the U.S. awareness of his plans. Nimitz sank all 4 Japanese carriers, names being the Akagi, Kaga, Soryu, and Hiru. The U.S.'s victory was a major turning point throughout the war, as well as in the Pacific theater. Let's take it back to Joe with more news on the United Nations controversy.
New Year's Day 1942, 4 nations signed a document that was later called the United Nations Agreement. Later on the following day, 22 other nations signed the document as well. The agreement was formed towards the end of World War II as a newly resolved international peacekeeping organization that would resolve world problems without war. The agreement was replaced the previous League of Nations, which had failed to prevent the outbreak of World War I. Now over to Jared for national news.
Offices of Science, Research, and Development form the Manhattan Engineer District and based in New York City, New York. U.S. Army Colonel Leslie R. Groves was appointed to lead the project forward. On December 28th, President Roosevelt authorized the formation of the Manhattan Project with hopes of weaponizing nuclear energy. A dynamical multimedia broadcasting system serving an audience of nearly 100 million people nationwide was used to combat Nazi propaganda with accurate, unbiased news and information. The VOA put consistent messages of truth, hope, and inspiration to those nationwide, and very soon, globally. The VOA is funded by the United States government through the U.S. Agency for Global Media. With World War II well underway and the U.S. involvement, America needed to produce more weapons such as planes, tanks, guns, jeeps, etc., and less of the more traditional cars and production items. These changes boomed the economy upwards, which was desperately needed after the Depression. Women began working in both manufacturing plants and for the military as nurses and cooks. The President and national government have also announced the rationing of food and materials to provide the soldiers with basic needs such as food and clothing. It seems again that our nation is flourishing and our men and women are both ready to fight.
Hey, you. Yeah, you. I see you just bought the missus a new car. You're going to need insurance for that, you know. Have you ever considered State Farm? State Farm has been proudly serving Americans since 1922. Yep, that's right. 20 years of proud service. Millions of Americans are already a part of State Farm, and you can be too. It is our duty here at State Farm to provide affordable and trustworthy insurance to all that join us. I can even bet you that your neighbors are a part of our outstanding company as well. Come on, what are you waiting for? Call or visit us today.
And now to Cris and Jesus with your weather report.
Weather here, and multiple hurricanes make landfall occurred in the state of Texas from June 16 to October 31st. The hurricane season had massive impacts on Texas, destroying multiple homes, schools, and other buildings. The total cost of damage was assessed somewhere between $30 to $30.5 million. A total of 11 stores based along Texas coastline and 17 people are reported dead. One hurricane was reported at Category 3, no official size yet. A March tornado outbreak is in session right now. In this late March, a winter tornado outbreak that struck a large part of central and southern United States. The tornado outbreak killed 153 people and injured at least 1,284. At least 25 tornadoes were reported to make landfall, with strong wind torrents making up those reported ungrounded. 7 of the 25 were reported as F3 and F4 classes, causing massive amount of damage and heavy cost of repairs. Many citizens are now without homes and power. Now over to Christopher Pons.
A magnitude 7.0 earthquake struck just south of Unimak Island, Alaska on September 9th. Some major damages were done to southern Alaska, but fortunately, no lives were taken. Welcome to sports. I'm Christian Ponce.
And I'm Jesus.
On January 21st, 12th seed, Oregon State beat 2nd seed Duke in the Rose Bowl championship. Duke was favored to win by 14, but could not bring the win home. The game was moved to Durham, North Carolina, due to the fact that they thought Japan was going to attack since they were previously on the West Coast. Duke took the first quarter with a touchdown, and then, evening it up, was Oregon with a touchdown. In the third quarter, Oregon won with 13 points. Nearly 50,000 people showed up and tried to cheer on their team with this event.
On the World Series, the defending champions New York Yankees did all they could do to hold off the St. Louis Cardinals, but it wasn't enough. The Yankees took Game 1, but St. Louis responded by dominating Games 2 through 5, winning the series. Charles Ruffing just wasn't able to strike out the Cardinals, and their offense was not all there. Keller had a 3-run home run to put the Yankees behind by just 1, yet the energy and momentum died off shortly after. Congratulations to the Cardinals and their fans.
Moving on to this year's Stanley Cup recap. The Toronto Maple Leafs defeated the Detroit Red Wings and are now Stanley Cup champions. Toronto made history without a doubt, coming back from a major 0-3 deficit and winning the series 4-3. Dan Grasso was a key player for Detroit, but the odds began stacking up immensely against him and his team. Grasso was also fined $25 for having a temper in which he threw his stick on the ice. Toronto's very own Schreiner had an amazing performance in the last game, tying it up and then allowing Peter Landiak to score the winning goal. A much-deserved celebration and hard-fought victory to Toronto. Congratulations.
The new popular film Casablanca premiered on November 26th in New York City. The film directors Humphrey Bogart and Ingrid Bergman included famous actors such as Claude Rains, Dooley Wilson, and Paul Henreid. The film, based on a play, focuses on the complicated relationships between two former lovers and is set in North Africa at the beginning of World War II. It was a hugely successful movie and remains one of the most quoted and loved films of all time, continually ranking high on lists of the best movies ever made. After its release, was nominated for 8 Academy Awards and won 3, including Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Writing. The movie received much praise from both movie critics and the general population. I think it's safe to say that Casablanca will become a film classic of its time.
The newly released film, loved by families all over the country, has just topped the charts. The animated flick, Bambi, was directed by David Han, who is the supervisor of a larger team of other sequence directors. Bambi made $3 million within its first month and is projected to make much more in the preceding months. There is rumor already of a Bambi 2 in production as well. This popular movie was also produced by Walt Disney and based on the book Bambi, A Life in the Woods by Austrian author Felix Salten. The film was released by RKO Radio Pictures on August 13th and is the 5th Disney animated feature film. Due to it being such a loved film, it appears that our beloved Bambi won't be going anywhere anytime soon. Let's move on now to the new upcoming hilarious comedy duo Abbott and Costello. Depending upon the version, Abbott has organized a new baseball team and the players have quite interesting names, like who plays first baseman, what playing second baseman, and I don't know, playing third baseman. Confused? Well, that's the point. You can see these two goofballs live at showings near you. That's all, folks. Thank you for tuning in tonight.